In today's news, BVI confirms 5 additional COVID-19 cases.
BVI Airports Authority reduces the salary of all airport staff by 25%, and National Parks Trust advises workers of no salary during curfew and lockdown. All this and more when 284 News returns.
I think you need to clearly see what happened.
As far as what?
You and I, we decided we were gonna take our space. What happened?
Yeah, and then I got into an entanglement in August. That's what I said.
An entanglement.
Yes. Yes.
An entanglement.
Yes.
A little entanglement never hurt nobody. For the month of August, enjoy double the fun when you activate a 2 GB data plan or any hero plan and get double data. But wait, man, we're making things even sweeter. We've got a deal even Jada can't resist. Sign up for Go Fast LTE and get your modem for only $149. The catch is, there's no contract required, but you'll definitely need the willpower to leave. So come get entangled with August. In August with the home team.
24 years and counting.
We ride together.
We die together. CCT for life.
Welcome there, everyone. Today is Tuesday, the 25th of August, 2020. Another beautiful evening here in the British Virgin Islands. Of course, I am Kyla Kenesha Forbes.
And I'm Ron Grant, wishing each and every one of you a terrific Tuesday and hope you're enjoying your evening. Now, we have lots to get into, of course, Kyla. A lot is going on in our territory right now, particularly as it crosses across the region. The BVI, of course, confirmed 5 more cases of COVID-19, and with that came a tighter curfew. We've seen where many businesses have been asked to kind of adjust their settings to make sure that persons are safe. We're going to get into that. Over in Antigua, they recorded their second COVID-19 related death, and in addition to that, the BVI is celebrating 103rd birthday of our very own Alethea Fraser. Could you believe that? 103 years is quite an accomplishment. I think that is absolutely fascinating.
Ron, if you look at her
yes.
face, she does not look 103
Not at all.
at all. You can definitely see where black does not crack when it comes to Miss Fraser, but she's looking amazing, and we do want to wish her a happy birthday. But Ron, also, as we were speaking about the fact that we are now under tighter curfew conditions here in the British Virgin Islands,
Yes.
we spoke a lot about yesterday evening as the BVI really was awaiting the conversation and the press conference by the Minister of Health. And the persons waited up to minutes to 12 o'clock for the news. But here we see where businesses, as you said, is really tightening up and preparing for closure. So banks are closed effective August 27th, 2020. Here on the screen, you see where the Bank of Asia, CIBC, First Caribbean, First Bank, National Bank of the Virgin Islands, Banco Popular, the Republic Bank, and VP Bank. These are the banks that will be closed effective August 27th. So yeah, but we definitely will be getting into that a bit more into the newscast.
Yes, and of course, we learned that the one and only Usain Bolt, he contracted COVID-19 and is seemingly, not doing too bad. Obviously, the virus is no respect of persons, and we continue to wish him and everyone else affected by the virus the very best.
Most definitely. So that is our news summary. But Ron, we have so much to get into. And as I said last night, the residents of the BVI was awaiting the government's COVID-19 update. And I don't know if you were able to stay up, Ron, but minutes to 12 is when the Minister of Health, Honorable Carvin Malone, addressed the people of the Virgin Islands. Now, the minister confirmed that 5 new cases was confirmed, and this brings the territory's total reported cases to 26. Now, out of that 26, 17 cases are currently active in the territory. Now, following the confirmation of these new cases, the government of the Virgin Islands announced the imposition of a new curfew order. As you know, Ron, last week, Friday, we had a previous curfew order. So now we see
Yes.
where a new curfew order have been imposed, and the curfew runs from 5:01 p.m. in the evening to 4:59 a.m. So really and truly, we are under a 12-hour lockdown. So 5 to 5, primarily the people of the Virgin Islands will be inside in their homes. Now, the curfew order will begin on Wednesday, August 26, 2020. So that is of tomorrow, and will run for 14 consecutive days. Now, the announcement made by Minister Malone further highlighted that within the first 7 days of the curfew period, only the categories of businesses that I will be naming will be allowed to operate. And these are supermarkets and mini markets, approved delivery services, pharmacies and drugstores, bakeries, banks with limited internal operations, such as but not limited to clearing of overnight deposit services. But Ron, as you were saying earlier, we see where the banks are closing to the public.
Correct.
They may be opened in the background, but to the public, they will be closed. But also, farmers and fisher folks will be able to operate, or fueling stations and LPG stations. Private healthcare providers, which they are subjected to approval of their entire client list by the Minister of Health. And we really see where that is a bit extensive, Ron. But also we see where burials are able to operate during this time, but this is subjected to the minister's approval. And all essential workers as defined in Section 3 of the Labor Code, and really and truly exempted persons as listed in the current curfew order, except item N. Now, Honorable Malone revealed in his address that case number 22 was detected while obtaining treatment at the emergency room. The contact tracing team have been working to identify and quarantine primary and secondary contacts connected to this patient. A total of 46 contacts of recent cases have been tested during this past week, and out of these investigations, 3 primary contacts of case number 22 tested positive, along with 1 primary contact of case number 12, which together comprises of the 5 new cases which were detected. Now, given these circumstances, the BVI is now classified as having clusters of cases in accordance to the World Health Organization, their criteria for their guidelines, what that really looks like. And what it means to have a cluster of cases, it means that there are sporadic cases referred to as small number of cases, 1 or more, that are either imported or detected locally. Clusters of cases refer to cases that are clustered in time, geographic location, or by common exposure. Now, the Minister of Health further reminded the territory of the importance of complying with the health protocols to slow and prevent the spread of COVID-19, Ron. And I think every day we are reminded of this, and I think we really have to take this seriously.
Absolutely.
As a territory.
Kyla, definitely we would all have waited up. I didn't wait up, actually. You asked me if I did. That was way past my bedtime. But the information came, of course, to the general public. And additionally, moving on, Kyla, Minister of Health and Social Development, the Honorable Carvin Malone, said during that very same press conference that during this week, communities on Tortola, Virgin Gorda, and Anegada will be screened for the coronavirus. This was announced in the live broadcast late last evening as well. He said in the case of Tortola, the communities that have been identified are Seacoast Bay and East End Long Look. He added, and I quote, "I encourage the residents of these areas to pay close attention to the details of these testing arrangements as they are announced via local media." He also stated that Cabinet has given the go-ahead to lease premises that can be used as testing ground and alternative police custody facilities outside of the current police premises. Now, Minister Malone said that this is necessary due to the increased testing demand associated with the context of the additional cases that he announced. It is the government's goal for comprehensive testing, he said, and I quote, "The government of the Virgin Islands continues to take a comprehensive approach in our efforts to protect public health by investing millions of dollars in the best available expertise across various disciplines. As the situation evolves, we must be prepared to change course quickly based on scientific evidence," he remarked. Now, he continued by saying, "Governments and health professionals cannot do this alone. It is important to have active participation by every member of society. Among my worst fears has been the suspicion that certain persons in our community would favor greed over health safety. This is the condition we have found ourselves in as a community. We must rally together to protect each other against this threat by requiring more of ourselves and our fellow residents. We can get through this together only if we do our part." And now, Kyla, we see where the minister is advising that testing is going to be done territory-wide, particularly as it pertains to those communities that we just mentioned, Seacoast Bay, as well as East End Longlook. But I want to draw our attention to his comments in the latter portion, because earlier today, Governor of the Virgin Islands, His Excellency Governor Augustus J.U. Jaspert, had a press conference, basically, I think, trying to bring clarity to some areas that might not have been understood by the general public.
Right.
But one of the areas that I found very interesting in that press conference, and the remarks by Governor Jaspert, where he said, "Help was offered," and I quote, "help was offered by the UK to secure the borders, but it was not accepted." Now, again, he's saying that help was offered by the UK to secure our borders, and it was rejected. Now, we hear the Honorable Minister of Health and Social Development saying that the greedy is who caused the issue, when in fact it happened because the borders essentially were not protected. Now, why would you have refused help from the United Kingdom? We can't obviously do it on our own. We've been struggling with it for a long time, and now more than ever in this particular situation, we see where we're having a difficult time. So for you to refuse help and then make it look like it's some persons in the community, I think that's where residents are getting a little bit concerned, and we see where, again, mixed messages, but in this case, the governor is bringing clarity to the fact that help was offered to the British Virgin Islands in the former border protection, and it was refused.
And also, Ron, the governor also said that now he will be basically going to Cabinet and the National Security Board to really see, well, what sort of help do they need in these stages, and then he would report back to either being the UK or the general public. But as you said, he did reveal in that press conference that the UK did offer help as it pertains to border control, and at that time that request was not supported. So we would really like to hear a little bit more about that, because yes, we are under curfew, and that might help the situation internally of slowing the spread of COVID-19. But I think we're still not addressing the real issue, and the issue, what we're saying and why we're saying that we're actually here, and that is border control.
Correct.
So how do we protect our borders? And if we were actually given this help or offered this help, why didn't we take it? So many questions, Ron.
Indeed. Now, still ahead, viewers, the BVI Airports Authority reduces the salary of all airport staff by 25%, and the National Parks Trust follows by advising workers of no salary during curfew/lockdown. All this and more when 284 News returns. You don't want to miss these two stories. You're watching 284 News.
Is business slow? Cash flow down? Hosting an upcoming event? We can help. Advertise with 284 Media and take your business or event to the next level by enhancing your present marketing and messaging strategies. Allow our team of experts to create a personalized ad that sets your business apart from all the rest. This could be your business or event. So, what are you waiting for? Contact our marketing team at 284media@cctbvi.com. Advertising with us works.
Viewers, welcome back. You're watching 284 News. Now, continuing on the local scene, a letter received by our newsroom dated June 30th, 2020 confirms the announcement by the BVI Airports Authority in the British Virgin Islands advising all staff of a 25% salary reduction which took place effective July 1st, 2020, along with reduction of hours. The letter states, and I quote, "All employees are asked to note that in accordance with the Resolution 26 of 2002 issued by the Board of Directors on June 3rd, 2020, effective July 1st, 2020, employees will be scheduled to work 30 hours per week instead of 40 hours. Salaries will be paid according to the new 30-hour work weeks." Now, the BVI Airports Authority is home to many employees, several of whom are deemed really essential workers, from administration, custodial workers, security personnel are very needed, air traffic controllers, and fire officers, among others. Now, the letter did not state, nor were the staff notified of the length of time of the salary reductions. Now, we will continue to keep this story going as investigations by our agency into the salary reductions and the possibility of any additional salary cuts among government entities or statutory bodies continue. Now, to date, no announcement has been made by the Minister of Finance on the matter. However, Kyla, just today, the National Parks Trust, they sent out correspondence to their staff of the BVI National Parks Trust, and they received the notice that they will no longer, or they will not be paid during the recently announced curfew or silent lockdown. Now, the correspondence stated, and I quote, "I am writing to you regarding the curfew silent lockdown that has been imposed by the government last night. As National Parks Trust is not on the approved list, I regret to inform you that for the lockdown for the remainder of 2020, or the lockdowns rather, for the remainder of 2020, employees will not be paid. Based on the grave financial position of the trust at this time, the trust cannot pay people to stay home while they continue to accumulate days and still have to pay those as well. I have spoken to our Minister, Permanent Secretary, and Chairman regarding the grave financial situation and the implications for the overall operations of the trust. Currently, they are working on having NPT added to the list of approved workers, which means you will be required to report to work. Alternatively, you can take vacation. The choice is yours. On another but related note, for those of you who have vacation, you are advised to take your days or lose them, as the circumstances of any lockdown is not an excuse for not taking them. If you don't use them, you will lose them." Now, Kyla, of course, our newsroom reached out to the director of the National Parks Trust, from which this correspondence came. It was sent to staff, and she adamantly declined to comment. The National Parks Trust of the Virgin Islands was established under the National Parks Ordinance of 1961 as a statutory body, of course, responsible for parks and protected areas. It is overseen by a board of directors appointed by the government of the British Virgin Islands and collaborates closely with the Ministry of Natural Resources and Labour and the government departments such as Conservation and Fisheries and Town and Country Planning. But most importantly, Kyla, we see where another statutory body has been receiving a notice of not just a cut. The cut was the BVI Airports Authority. That's a 25% salary cut and reduction in hours, whereas we're seeing the National Parks Trust has informed their staff that they will not be paid at all for the curfew or lockdown period. And of course, again, we reached out and that was no comment. One of the things that we see, Kyla, as it pertains to the pandemic, the global pandemic that is COVID-19 and how it is affecting the territory of the Virgin Islands, this is not a new situation. This is not anything that is a surprise to our region. It's been happening all over, as well as locally. We know of private companies who have had to take certain measures. However, when it comes to the government offices and the statutory bodies, we have yet to hear an announcement, an official announcement, or a way forward as it pertains to what persons within the government agencies and statutory bodies can expect. It seems as though they're just going about it on a case-by-case or department basis, and many of these seem to be done under the mat. So the general public has no idea that that's taking place, and the persons working in the departments don't know until, for example, today they get a notice saying that this is going to take place.
Most definitely, Ron. I think this is definitely something that the government has to take into account when we make the decisions of lockdowns, silent lockdowns, curfews, and thereover. Here we see a statutory body which is very close to home to the government. And as you said, what is the plan? Is also private, but especially public. What is your plan as it pertains to lockdowns and everything going forward as it pertains to COVID-19? And I think our companies, our government, or statutory bodies really have to zone in on that and really look at what that may mean for their employees, for their establishment on a whole. It's really sad because at the end of the day, these employees didn't know that this was coming. This was a choice of the government, and here they are being told that you either have to, you're basically not going to get paid if you are not working. And I think we're going to see a lot more actions such as these.
Correct.
Where employees will have to choose their health over their economic wellness.
Exactly. And Kyla, as I said before, this is not a new situation. It is not new to the territory or our government. What I think needs to be had is a conversation so that persons within the different agencies of government and statutory bodies somehow could at least have an idea of preparation. I think when you do haphazardly make decisions like this and persons just get informed on the fly, it takes them by surprise, especially persons who have families and all that kind of stuff. So if the conversation perhaps could have, been a little bit more deeper or, spoken to so persons could have an understanding, and also too from the general public. We're not hearing from our officials, particularly the Minister of Finance, as it pertains to these two cases or any additional cases that may come. So it's almost making the general public feel as though, everything is okay, and then at the end of the day, they realize, well, we won't be paid.
Most definitely. And the last thing that I would say on this situation, Ron, this is very unprecedented times, as we all know. But I think employers have to show some sort of empathy to employees because, as you said, no one knew that this was coming. And I think that is why persons are so anxious when they hear of a COVID-19 update or a lockdown, because you really don't know what your faith might look like. Will you have a job? Will you be paid if you are on lockdown? So I really think, just as humans, we have to practice some sort of empathy. We do understand as a
Agreed.
leader, you are in a very hard place to be in.
No
but
doubt.
We're all human.
Yes.
Now, as we move on, now, Ron, as you may remember, now a few weeks ago in a live interview, we spoke to the Honorable Natalia Wheatley, the Minister of Education, and he basically revealed that the new academic school year was slated to begin on the 21st of September 2020, which was subjected at that time to the approval of Cabinet. Now, since then, as we know, the BVI has reported additional cases, and the territory, as I said earlier, is we currently have 17 active cases. Now, due to the recent increase in COVID-19 cases in the BVI, this was delayed. Now, the official announcement of the date decided for the new academic school year here in the territory was delayed. Now, in speaking to the local online publication, Deputy Premier and Minister of Education, Dr. Natalia Wheatley confirmed that Cabinet had decided on a date for the new school term prior to the new recent COVID-19 cases. He said, and I quote, "Given the case that we have, I want to hold off before I make an announcement. I plan to make a statement on it once I understand what's happening with this particular case," end quote. Now, in the meanwhile, Dr. Wheatley said that measures are being undertaken in the education system to alleviate the stigma attached to COVID-19 here in the BVI. He said, and I quote, "Definitely in the education system, I can say as we prepare to go into the reopening of schools that we are going to have continued measures as we have put measures in place before to provide the psychosocial support and the education about COVID-19, end quote. He also added, and I quote, "We will make sure that the staff are trained, parents receive the information that they need, and students as well has a proper orientation about COVID-19 and how to deal with it in the society, and certainly encouraging them that there's no need for stigma," end quote. Now, Ron, you see where there is some sort of delay as it pertains to the announcement of the upcoming school year. I think many parents, once again, is probably very frustrated with this. We do understand that the BVI have had additional cases as of recently, but my question would be, did we have a plan basically around the fact that we would have no cases of COVID-19?
Interesting question, Kyla, and I think the answer to that I can't answer it, but obviously we don't in that sense, because what we see here happening is that despite the additional cases, and be not mistaken, the additional cases are to be taken into consideration. They are serious, and I think that in the end we have to secure our students and make sure that our families are protected. But what we see here is the continuation of every time there's a case or cases, we go back to square one. That thought that is how the country will be run moving forward in the era of COVID-19 is quite a scary one, and particularly as it pertains to education. Most
definitely, Ron. And I think yes, knowing that the BVI just a few weeks ago was COVID-19 free, and I think we all was hoping that it would stay that way. But I think as it pertains to the education system, I think both scenarios should have been sort of planned for or even thought about, even if it is that our students are doing virtual learning, but just knowing a way forward and really having a plan despite whatever end of the stick we were at.
Indeed.
Now, viewers, still ahead, the USVI reports the 12th COVID-19 related death. So you do want to stay tuned for this. This is 284 News, and we'll be right back.
So you're saying I can ask this cat any question?
The cat is connected to the computer. You just type in the question, it will read his mind. There the answer comes.
You're the man! I've been looking for this for weeks.
Brilliant Hands and Minds Tutoring Services, one-on-one tutorials in math and English, intense homework assistance, academic enrichment, school projects, effective communication and public speaking development, sign language for adults and children on Saturdays only. Registered with the Virgin Islands High School Certificate Program, Brilliant Hands and Minds can help you too. Offering intense curriculum-based training to help you or your loved ones get their high school diploma. It's time to make your family's education a #1 priority. Hurry, space is limited. Brilliant Hands and Minds Learning Center. We are the trained education professionals.
Welcome back, viewers. As we were saying, the over in the USVI has had its 12th COVID-19 case. You can check that story out on our website at 284media.com. But before we close out, really and truly, this important story, the Royal Virgin Islands Police Force is really asking for the community's help as they reactivate their See Something, Say Something initiative. Now, persons can use the number 368-9112. That is 368-9112 to send texts or photographs via WhatsApp of persons breaching the curfew, or in this case, persons who are entering our territory illegally, or persons aiding those entering the territory illegally. The initiative, which was officially rolled out in April 2020, is mainly to free up the main access numbers so that other offenses may be immediately reported. Now, any information given through this medium is confidential and will be given in the strictest confidence. But Ron, we see where the Royal Virgin Islands Police Force is really asking for the community's help, and the minister also said it will take all of us to really make sure that we go on in a proper way.
Well, Kyla, we saw this originally in our first lockdown. The Minister of Health definitely reached out to the general public, and at one point he was actually offering some sort of a stipend for whistleblowers, persons who would speak up and say if they had heard anything, which is, I think, should be done across the board. At the end of the day, the Virgin Islands and our islands are ours to protect, and if persons see something, in all cases, I think they should be led to. Again, confidentiality is one that we speak of, and I think sometimes persons are concerned, but we see, however, where the Royal Virgin Islands Police Force is assuring that these will be held in the strictest of confidence.
Most definitely. Viewers, that is it for today's news roundup. Be sure to like us on Facebook at 284 Media and 284 BVI on Instagram as well as Twitter. I am Kyla Kenesha Forbes.
And I'm Ron Grant. Happy Tuesday, everybody. Bye-bye.